Unicorns and glitter and taxidermy critters are just some of the things they like. They also enjoy 80s hair bands, Grizzly Adams and John Goodman, so if you think that's weird then you can take a hike. But the things they enjoy the most are making art and cracking jokes, so without further ado, here are your hosts. You've got your two artsy gals, Here are your two artsy gals.
Hey listeners, Katie here. This is going up pretty late tonight. It's like 12:15 a.m. right now. So it's technically Monday morning instead of Sunday evening. But we had family birthday stuff to do today, so we weren't home all day. So I'll try to make this quick so I can get it up there and then put my tired ass to bed. Just a few things. I want you to, first of all, remember it is tripod month. That's hashtag TRYPOD podcasting. Tell your friends about it. Tell them about us. Tell them about other podcasts. Show them how to do it. It is awesome. We talk about another couple of our favorite podcasts in this episode. So that is cool. And March is almost over. And so then tripod month will be over. So talk about it while you can. Next week is our big 3rd anniversary episode, and we are going to be doing a Facebook Live recording on March 31st, Friday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure that you are on Facebook to keep us company. We'll be doing some drinking and some crafting and some talking, and hopefully answer some questions for you or just visit back and forth. It will be a blast and you guys are gonna love it. We might even do jello shots. I don't know, can't say. We'll find out next Friday. If you like this show and you've been around, whether you're new or you've been here the whole 3 years we've been doing the show, we love you guys and thank you. But if we want to keep it going and continue for more years, we need your support. We got to have some support for this podcast because right now we don't have any sponsors. We don't belong to a network. So unlike some of your bigger, more popular podcasts, we are 100% listener supported. Lonnie and I don't make an income from the podcast, so anything that we have to do or pay for to keep this podcast airing weekly for you guys with fresh new episodes comes out of our pockets. And that's kind of a drag sometimes. You can support this podcast and keep it going in a few ways. You can donate money to us on our website. There's a donate button. It's a PayPal donate button. So you can set it up to do a one-time donation. You can set it up to do a monthly donation. Any amount helps us sincerely. It really does. You can also donate an item to us off of our Amazon wish list. We try to keep it stocked with some things that look interesting or stuff that we would like to talk to you guys about, but that we wouldn't really be able to justify buying just on our own because it's not something that we would probably use regularly in our own artwork. You can get there through 2artsygals.com. There is an Amazon wishlist button, so click it and check it out, and we will thank you on the show. We'll thank all of our donors on the show. We understand that you can't always afford to support your podcasts monetarily, so there are other ways you can support us. You can tell people about us. Spread the word about Two Artsy Gals. And again, like I said at the beginning of this announcement, sometimes people just don't know how to listen to a podcast, so tell people about podcasts. And then spread the word about us. Tell the world on your social media accounts. Just say, hey, listen to this podcast. It's super great and we think you would like it. And speaking of social media, we are on Facebook. You're going to want to go to our Facebook page and follow us. We also, we keep forgetting to talk about it, but we do have a new Facebook group and we're going to have some announcements about that. It's Two Artsy Gals doing making cool shit, I think is what it's called. Search for it on the Facebooks and ask to be added and we will add you to it because we're going to be doing some fun shit in that group and you're going to want to be there for it. We are on Twitter I tweet sometimes. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to tweet a picture of what I have most recently glued myself to, because yes, there was another super glue incident. It involves a skull. Just an FYI. We are also on Instagram, and I try to post pictures of things that we're doing or silly shit on Instagram every once in a while. And we do have a Pinterest board where we post a board for almost every single episode that we do, because we like to be able to show you all of the cool shit that we look at when we're researching these episodes for you guys. So we will always link those in the post for each episode on twoartsygals.com. And you can see it that way. Or you can just go follow us on Pinterest and get a, hey, they just posted a new board message. And then you'll know. We love hearing from you guys. We've been able to read a couple of emails lately. We just got one from a regular listener today, but we will probably read that in our next episode that we record. Not our anniversary episode, but the one after. So we love hearing from you guys. We like ideas for the show. Like right now, we're kind of down to about 40 ideas, topics on our master list. So give us some fresh ideas. Tell us some stuff. You can do that by sending an email to twoartsygals@gmail.com. Or you can speak to us on Facebook or any of the social medias. We're 2RCGals on all of those places. Or you can call and leave us a voicemail at 503-395-7190. And when you do that, we might even play your call on the podcast. It's super fun to do that. Let me see. I feel like I'm forgetting a bunch of shit, but I'm really tired. So I'm tempted to just wrap it up right now. As a matter of fact, I think I will. I know I'm forgetting shit, so I'll remember it next week. And enjoy the show. And don't forget to be on the Facebook on Friday night at 7:30 Pacific time to enjoy our live show with us. Hey everybody, this is Katie.
And this is Lonnie.
And you're listening to Two Artsy Gals. Yay! I almost forgot what I was doing for a minute. Like I hit record and then my brain went blank. I was like, what? What are we doing? Wait, where's my phone? There it is. Can you believe it's 6 o'clock already? Look at how fucking light it is outside.
Ah, spring is coming.
I'm kind of sad about the not being dark all the time. I like it when it's dark.
Yeah.
It's
no,
weird.
I don't.
I love it.
I don't.
I love the darkness.
I can't see.
Well, I can't see either, but that's okay. Sometimes I'd just rather not see.
I like seeing. So how are we going to start this?
I don't know. We just had I feel like we're going to have a lot to live up to with last week's raucous beginning of the podcast. We got crazy.
Yeah, that's good. It was fun.
I'm a little tired now, though.
I know. It was like, woo, that was a lot.
We just recorded last week's 5 minutes ago, guys.
Yeah, we got a good workout.
Oh, God damn it, I'm getting the hiccups
from
again.
our laugh muscles.
We did. And I just went downstairs and stirred the soup.
It smells really good.
Only new thing that's happened.
It's a little distracting.
It is. My tummy's kind of grumbly.
Me too.
I roasted a chicken last night so that I could cook. And then I put the carcass in my crock pot and cooked it overnight.
Yum.
But then I didn't think that was going fast enough. So I boiled it down today. So anyway, then I just picked all the meat off the bones and I'm making chicken and dumplings.
Yum.
Because if I don't have dumplings in my chicken and dumplings, my husband throws a little tantrum. Well, I prefer chicken noodle soup, homemade chicken soup. He prefers dumplings. But I've done, I make my own noodles.
Wow.
And I've done drop noodles the last 2 times. So now he wants dumplings. So there's that.
Yeah.
So what Katie and Lonnie are having for dinner.
I have never, ever, ever made a dumpling.
Really? I just use Bisquick. They're the only ones he likes.
Yeah, and you just drop them in there? Bloop.
Yeah, I tried to make fancy. I found this really yummy recipe for cornmeal and herb dumplings one time, and they were fucking good. But he was like, "They're not Bisquick. I don't like them." Meow. Sometimes I want to stuff food in his face and send him to bed, like he's a little baby and he's in trouble.
You might like that.
He might. That's a gross thought. It's a real gross thought.
Oh.
Damn it. Speaking of which, he should be home. He'll interrupt us.
My car's
like,
in the way. I should have moved
oh,
it.
he can park his ass across the street. He'll just move when you get here. I'll text him though, so he knows.
Sorry,
so he's not a poop head. He never gets mad. He loves you.
I'm a car blocker.
You're a car
I'm a
blocker.
Park blocker.
Really, she just wants to say cock blocker.
I know,
She's
but
like
I was trying to come
say
up with a funny, and it didn't work. It just didn't work.
There's my husband. Lonnie is
a cock blocker.
Just
a car
Lonnie is a
blocker.
cock blocker. Is in your spot. Your spot. So park.
So there.
So stick it in your butt, yo.
I'm
Just gonna
sorry.
say
My
sorry.
obnoxious laugh is on the obnoxious. It's like fucking.
I think that you
ridiculous.
only think so. This is a thing that I've noticed about you.
It's so.
You only worry about how obnoxious your laugh is when you are stoned. I'm just gonna say that. Because your laugh is awesome, and I love your laugh, and I love hearing your laugh.
I think it just like echoed off the closet in this way that I was like,
it's like echoes in here. Echo, echo,
I
echo.
was like, what is that coming back at me? Oh, that's my laugh.
You're such a dork. I love your laugh. It's my favorite.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you.
She will move it when we are done recording. Yo. And bring me chocolate, bitch.
That's right.
So it is still March. This is the last week in March. And it's still tripod month. Like we're still doing like podcast awareness. And we want people like hashtag TRYPOD. Like we want you to share, introduce people to not tripod, introduce people to podcasts.
I thought you were going to say into a tribe.
Or that. Some podcasts are kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. If you have friends who don't actually know how to get a podcast on their phone, some people are just intimidated. They don't understand. There are people who are stressed out by technology. Like they don't understand that they can do this with their phones. So sit down and take some time to show people how to do it and tell them about your favorite podcasts. It doesn't have to be this podcast, but just tell them about a podcast.
Yeah.
So Lonnie, tell me about a podcast. Tell our listeners about a podcast that you like.
Okay. I like KCRW's Here Be Monsters.
Here Be Monsters? Wait, I've heard about that one. What is that one about?
It is like a storytelling. It's a storytelling. Yeah, and he does a lot of cool audio stuff. And yeah, it's just really kind of odd or interesting.
So is it
stories.
like fiction stories?
No, they're real, like he'll go and interview people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm so
But he does a lot of Here Be Monsters, you guys. It's really good.
Can you hand me my mechanical pencil?
I always wish there was more of them. I'm always like,
ouch.
Oh, sorry. I just
She just fucking
You want a
stabbed
pencil? Here's a fucking pencil.
Take that.
Yeah. Sorry. Gosh.
You're
I'm
funny.
so violent sometimes. But yeah. And it's like the tagline is the stories about the unknown.
So it's like unsolved mystery-ish kind of stuff?
It's just
or like
cool, like interesting. They're just interesting.
I need to listen to that.
A lot
That
of the
sounds
stuff,
really
I
good.
think he grew up in Washington in the murdery area.
The murdery area of
Yeah,
Washington. Look,
and
people, the Pacific Northwest in itself is a little bit murdery, but
and so it's there's been quite a few stories from that, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's good.
I'm going to listen to it.
Do it. Check it out. I think you might like it. And I like his whole, like, he's got a thing with sound, and I like that. He plays with it. He produces it really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to like take some lessons from him about producing podcasts.
Stuff. I know I'm always like really inspired by it, but I just sometimes I'm like, how do they think of that?
Yeah.
How do they? I like brains that work that way.
You just reminded me of a podcast that I actually haven't listened to in a while. Because I don't know about you, Lonnie, but I probably have about 30 podcasts that I listen to regularly. And I rotate through them. Like sometimes I get bored of one, so I let it sit for a while and I listen to another one for a while. But then I go back and I have a whole bunch of episodes to binge on the ones that I haven't been listening to for a while.
Yes.
And one of my favorite podcasts is actually called Drabblecast.
I've heard of that.
And it is a fiction podcast where people submit their stories.
Oh, cool.
And then the guy always reads them in this crazy voice or stuff, like he does voices. And they also produce, it's really well produced with sound effects and stuff like that.
I like that.
But it's really cool. They're creepy stories.
Nice.
So, but it's a really cool podcast. And he's kind
to
of
that.
funny.
When did I
I've probably told you about it before.
Yeah, and why did I stop? Because
I think that this is kind of a pet peeve of mine because we do a podcast a week. Now, granted, we don't do a lot of research for our episodes. I mean, like I do a little bit of research, but and we don't have like super high production value. But God damn it, I hate it when podcasts have seasons. Like, yeah. Like, okay, because, I feel like we don't need to plug the big ones on here for Tripod Week because everybody knows about Radiolab and This American Life and all those. But those are actually two of my favorite podcasts, but they have seasons.
Yeah.
So then you get like fucking 12 of them and then you have to wait another year or 6 months or however long for them to fucking come back again.
I know, but it's because of all the work they do.
But it is. But so that's also, I think Drabblecast has seasons too. And so that's maybe why.
I just added it again because I think I used to listen to it and I'm like, oh yeah.
It's fun. Yeah. He's funny too. He does some really like he does funny voices. And like he does, like they have, they're big fans of H.P. Lovecraft, so they do a lot of Lovecraftian kind of stuff, and like they have like crazy stories at Halloween time. They have a big special thing, so it's a fun. So if you like fiction and if you like kind of creepy, scary stuff or like sci-fi kind of stuff, I submitted a story to them once. I did quit listening to them for a while because they rejected my story and it made me mad and sad inside.
Like, no. Aww.
So they're like, they were very nice about telling me that they didn't like my story.
Oh, but you did it though. You tried.
But I
put
did.
Yourself out there. That's fucking awesome.
So I stopped listening for a while because I was sad inside about it because I thought it was a good story.
Yeah, but I bet it was.
Anyway, yeah, I like that one. What's another one that you listen to? I like doing two each.
Oh.
Do you want to do another one?
On the spot.
I'm sorry. I told you to.
I have been listening to this little song while I look it up. Do 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 do. Politically reactive with I'm going to butcher his name. Horikondabulu.
Well, that sounds right to me.
And Kamal Bell. Thank you.
Oh, I think I've heard of that podcast.
It's a pretty popular one, I think. They were just gonna do like during the run up to the election. And now they're like, and it was so cute. They just released a short episode yesterday that was like, they called each other on the phone and they're like, let's get the band back together. Let's keep doing the podcast. It was cute.
Politically active? Is that what
politically reactive?
Reactive.
And they just make me feel informed and they're funny. They're so funny. And
that's good too because a lot of political stuff is so fucking serious lately and it just
and they're not mean.
Makes me sad.
Well, I mean they can be snarky, but it's not like just mean. It's informative. It's really and funny. And I was excited that they're like, okay, we need each other because this, how you feeling? Kind of depressed or whatever, so they're getting the band back together. And
well, that's
so
really
excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just changed my mind about the next one that I'm going to talk about because you brought that one up. So I'm going to talk about Currently Nerdy. I listened to that one. It's all the description is, where is it? Oh my God. A funny life podcast giving you the nerdy take on pop culture. And they talk about, but they also talk about politics and current events and news stuff. And there are different guys that like, one's like a techie guy, one's like a comic book nerdy guy. And they like have different fandoms and areas that they know about. And there's like 3 or 4 of them. Sometimes there's more than others. And I learned about it because last year at Comic-Con, the guy who was running the Turtle Tees booth, or Tea Turtle booth. They do a lot of t-shirts. They're really cute t-shirts. The ones that do like the I'll cut you t-shirts with like the unicorn. So he's the host for the main host for Currently Nerdy.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about it, and I was saying that I did a podcast, and he was like, oh, I do a podcast too. So we exchanged information. So anyway,
Cool.
I really like that one. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's cool. And it's just kind of it's more a low key, like they do talk about serious stuff and they talk about news, and they of course can be a little bit snarky for comedy's sake, but
yeah, exactly.
But
That's what I was trying to,
it's well informed, and they're really smart guys, and they're not. It's not just like a big dumb.
Yeah.
You know, they're not mean.
Yeah, and they're not just making shit up
Yeah.
or whatever.
And they also talk about other shit too. Like they if you like, you know, I mean, like all the nerdy shit that's happening, like Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out, or the Star Wars movie. Lonnie always smiles at me like, I keep forgetting that you're a fucking dork. Is the look that she gets on her face. Or they talk about new video games.
To yourself.
It is.
That's not what I'm thinking.
You just always look surprised.
No,
like,
why are you so insecure about your love of Star Wars? I love
because
Star
people
Wars
make
too.
fun of me.
Well, fuck them. I love Star Wars too.
Good. We love Star Wars, and we also love sculpture.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're talking about today, guys.
It's cool.
But before we move on, remember hashtag TRYPOD, tripod.
Yeah.
Like on your social medias, hashtag tripod, like tell someone about a podcast, spread the word. We just want to get more people listening to podcasts.
Because it's fun.
Because it is fun, and I love it. It's a really fun, funny story. The other day I was listening to an episode. It's another, I went down the true crime podcast rabbit hole. Because I started listening to the one, and then the last
suggested other
then you get said, I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. And there's one that's really intriguing. Like the story I was really into, and I had my earbuds on, or my headphones, my over-the-ear headphones on, and I was in the kitchen because I have this little thing that I can plug my headphones into and make any headphones Bluetooth.
Oh, okay.
So I was like bebopping around listening to this, and I was doing the dishes, so I had to, like, the water was running, so I turned the volume on my podcast up. My dog was, I just told Lonnie this story like a few minutes ago, but my dog was barking, but I ignored him because my dog fucking barks all day long, all the time about everything. So I didn't even pay any attention to it. And I was filling the ice cube tray, and I turned, and my son was standing next to me in the kitchen. And I was listening to a podcast about them trying to solve this woman's murder. And they were given some pretty heavy details, and I screamed when I saw him standing there, and I flung the ice cube tray, and like water went everywhere, and my son was really irritated with me. But, you know, anyway, I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
But back to sculpture. So I actually researched this episode last week.
Good job.
Then we didn't record it last week. We decided that we were not going to.
I was like, no, we're going to see Pussy Riot instead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was like, should we record it? Like, because Lonnie and I, look, this podcast started out as a half an hour fucking podcast, like almost 3 years ago. And it has just slowly evolved into something that usually they're an hour long. And a half of that time is us talking about how nothing to fucking do.
Like Chris Smith.
With the podcast episode, like the subject. So now I'm like, if you're a new listener and you're listening to this because someone has tripoded us and told you to listen to us, like, we will get there eventually. Just stick with us, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we just
jibber
jabber.
Skip if you want.
Or you listen to our funny talk.
I know. I mean, you might be entertained.
I think I'm funny. I think I'm fucking hilarious.
I make myself laugh.
I'll make myself laugh every fucking day. All day long. I laugh at myself.
Me too.
It's a good time.
It is.
I'm
hilarious.
It's fun hanging out with me. Like, I seriously made myself laugh this morning because I was talking to myself. Yeah. And I realized how much I was talking to myself. I thought you
told yourself a funny joke.
No, I do that sometimes too, though. No, I was sitting here and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck? And blah, blah, blah. And talking. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally having a conversation with myself. Which then I laughed at because it was really fucking funny because only crazy people do that.
I've embarrassed myself by being in a quiet car with like 3 other people. And suddenly I just go...
Because you're laughing. Because you're laughing at something that you're thinking. Yes. I do that all the time.
And everybody jumps and they're like, "What the fuck?" Because it sounds this crazy noise comes out of me that I can't even.
Who has a quiet
I just had a really funny thought.
You know what I did the other day?
Hungover people.
Oh, well, they should stop being boobs.
It's always the hangover breakfast car ride.
I do. I want to be in that car ride.
No, you don't, because it's sad and quiet until I make a fucking crazy
That
noise
would make me laugh
the shit out of everybody.
hard, though. But then we would be like obnoxious laughers and people would be tired of us.
Yes. I am. Okay, but anyway.
I do this thing that irritates the shit out of Kurt in August. I'll be looking at something on my phone and everybody's quiet in the house and I see something funny, but it's not like, you don't really laugh out loud when you laugh out loud. But I go, ha! Like this stuff, ha! Like that. And it's always when it's quiet and they're like startled and they're like, what? Or I do when I'm really lazy and I think something's funny, I snort instead of laugh.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes I read something and go, like, and then Kurt's like, were you snort laughing or snorting or what? And I'm like, that was like my lazy laugh. That's what I do now because I know that if I really wanted to think about it enough, I would laugh until I snorted. So I just cut out the middleman and go, Lonnie is so giggly today. I need to let you smoke pot in my studio more often.
It totally works out. If I can get words out of my mouth.
Oh, no.
We're going to talk about sculpture because it's cool.
We are, because we got to get the Gloria Estefan song out of my head that just came into my head when you said words. Nope, it happened. She just had a pained look on her face because I know the song went into her head too.
No, actually, whenever. No, because you said Gloria Estefan and I got a totally different song in my head.
Oh, is it the Congo one?
Yeah.
See, I got that when the words get in the way.
I don't remember that one.
It's a horrible song. That's why you don't remember it.
Did anyone make a sculpture in its honor?
Fuck you, 80s DJ in my head. No one made a sculpture in its honor because it's a suck-ass song. But we need to get on topic here. 20 minutes in. Talking about sculpture. Chris. I know. If you didn't listen last week, that is referencing. So we got an email last week from... This is going to get her started again. From this guy who we talked about in our velvet painting episode last summer. And he's like, he just noticed that we pinged him in our blog. And he was like, I like how I found everything. He fast forwarded through the episode and nothing that he stopped on was about art. And in that episode, we were talking about horrible things. And there was a lot of vagina talk.
Ethereal ghost vaginas that go, whoa.
I'm sorry I'm kicking you. I'm not trying to kick you. Lonnie should make... We should make a sculpture of a ghost vagina.
That would be so beautiful.
Okay, new rule. Lonnie has to get high before we record every week.
Oh my god. That would be beautiful, Katie. I'm seeing iridescent.
I'm with like LED lights. Like I wanted to light it up.
Shiny area.
You can see your face right now. You're like crying. Do you need another tissue? I'm just gonna bring the box of tissue over here. Oh god.
Why? Okay.
Look, this is perfect because it's been a horrible week for me. It's been a long, shitty, cranky, bad mood having week. I've had some crap that just upset me happen, and this laughing is good for me. This is why we're cracking up, because we've just had it's been a bad week.
Yeah.
Just personally.
Cranky. I'm on a diet. I'm fucking sore.
I am clearly not on a diet. I feel like I've gained 45 fucking pounds in the last week because I've been so upset. All I've been doing is fucking shoving food in my face.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that happens, man.
I think that I should get liposuction and make a sculpture of my fat.
Yes, we are sculptures.
Like Oprah, I'll wheel it out in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Only mine will be shaped into something awesome.
Yeah, like a butter sculpture.
Oh my god. Do you remember when they made the butter sculpture of Paula Deen?
No.
Because Paula Deen fucking loves some butter.
Yeah, she does. Well, she deserves a butter sculpture.
So someone made a butter sculpture of her, and I was like, God damn, because she puts butter in everything. Because she's a genius, because butter's fucking delicious.
It is.
So
It is.
it is delicious. My cat thinks so too. She likes to fucking knock it off the counter and eat it.
Oh, man. I'm glad my cats don't do that.
Well, I have a butter dish now.
Ah, yes.
My mother-in-law brought me a very pretty one from Mexico.
Aw, yay.
And I love it. So now I don't find cat tongue prints across my butter, which is a
gross.
sculpture I don't like seeing.
Cats are nasty.
They're so disgusting.
I love them so much.
I do too. I just want to squeeze them.
I want to make
My
a
cat
sculpture
was
of
being a
one.
dick to Lonnie earlier.
Yeah, and I was
Look, she wasn't having it,
Not
but she was
taking
like
it.
trying to.
trying to learn how to set boundaries.
She fools Lonnie though. She like makes these cute faces and bats her lashes and gets all like chortly and rubs against her and then
Yeah, and then swipes me with
because
those
my cat's
claws.
a jerk. So I'm gonna try to read my handwriting. This is what I
Okay.
was getting at from like I would have been able to read my handwriting last week because I had freshly written it.
Ah, okay.
But then my brain
your-
disconnects
does your
from
handwriting
this. It
change
deteriorates
weekly?
over time. No, it's just my connection to what I just wrote is
I
not as
see.
clear as it
Okay.
was. But so there are different kinds of sculpture
Yes.
that we're going to acknowledge.
There's a lot, isn't
So
there?
yeah, well, yeah, but see, there are main so there's some main categories. So you have
Okay.
3-dimensional sculpture,
Oh, okay.
which is like you have sculpted a 3-dimensional object, like of a person or
like a David.
a shape or a penis.
a weenus.
A Cthulhu.
A Cthulhu.
Do you know what a weenus is?
Isn't it your elbow?
Your elbow skin. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I think that's a made up thing, but
It is. I think it's an urban
I don't know.
dictionary
I got
definition.
I got it from my kid. So, then there's also so you have 3-dimensional sculpture and you have like 2-dimensional or relief sculpture. So that would be like flat
Okay.
sculpture.
Mhm.
What is Oh, my husband's home. I'm
Ooh.
going to pause for just a minute. There we go. Sorry, we're back. I just had to pause that so you wouldn't hear the dog barking ceremony. We already went through it. He doesn't get quite as excited when Kurt gets home as he does when my son
Yeah,
gets home.
I noticed
so
that.
It's different.
Just kidding.
Well, he's my son's dog, so
I'm just kidding.
you know. And then you have so you have the relief sculpture, which can be done by actually sculpting your object or carving it, or it can be done by modeling with clay. So those are kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So there's also, you can do like casting stuff. Like I don't want to really get into the casting,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's kind of a subject in and of itself.
Yeah.
But people carve oftentimes just briefly when you cast something, they generally carve something out of foam or a lesser expensive material and then they cast it. So they make a mold and then they do like a bronzes or like whatever clay or whatever they're doing that way. I want to talk a little bit about stone sculpture.
Ooh.
Because it's always something. So when I was a little girl and I used to play pretend that I was an artist,
Mm-hmm.
that was my medium a lot of the times.
That's so cute.
Either painting or sculpture. I would pretend that I was sculpting things. Actually, because I was always a little witchy, I would pretend that I was sculpting something and make my brothers stand there and be the stone and then like sculpt them and then I would make them come alive.
Ooh.
So.
Like the bear in the park. In, I don't know, the park in the Pearl District, there's a stone carved bear and he's so cute and the kids can climb on him and they love him.
Does he come alive and eat them?
No.
No.
He just sits there and looks cute.
I haven't been to that. I don't know. I'm so behind on the parks.
Jameson Square. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
He's cute.
All I can think about is the movie where the bears, what is that movie where they all turn into bears? The girl with the wild hair. It's a cartoon movie.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I'm totally brain farting.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Then we're just going to drop it.
Moving on.
When you're doing a stone sculpture,
That seems really hard.
I think that it probably is really hard.
Yeah.
You
Rock
choose,
hard.
You rock hard.
Yeah,
Wah,
sorry.
wah.
Okay,
You choose your stone.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are different stones for different things. So, soapstone is really soft.
Is that the white one?
I think it comes in different shades,
Oh, okay.
different colors actually. But it's very soft, and they usually use it for beginners to learn on and practice on because it is so soft. Here's the thing though, you need to use, and you should be doing this on anything that you sculpt. You know, we're all about safety here at Two Artsy Gals. So you're going to want to be wearing a respirator to keep the dust from getting in your lungs, and eye protection. Probably some heavy gloves.
Yeah.
For part of it, like if you're banging, I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I learned
hard,
about
like.
soapstone and why you really want to be using a respirator, because that shit's full of asbestos.
Oh, geez.
But here's the thing. Back in the day, when I was a little fucking weird hippie girl, I bought and used a soapstone pipe that somebody had carved. For like years, I smoked pot out of my soapstone pipe. So that's bad for you.
Uh-oh.
Like asbestos. You can't breathe that shit.
Yeah.
It gives you the fucking bad things.
Yeah.
I may just want to go back and poke a hippie in the eye for giving me a soap. Now I'm like, well.
I know. You know what? We have soapstone pipes that we never use. I'm glad we
don't use them.
No.
Because, like, you know, you scrape pipes and stuff. And then you're going to, like, breathe in the fucking... My grandpa died from asbestosis from working in the mills when he was a young man. So
that blows.
That stuff is bad for you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you use a respirator, though, and I would imagine also it was very important when you're cleaning up after you've been sculpting to also use your respirator.
But they didn't know that back in the day, huh?
No, but they do use it now to teach and for beginners because it's so soft.
Yeah.
Alabaster is most often what is used because it's hard, but it's also pretty malleable, and it lasts for a long time. A lot of the sculptures that have withstood the test of time are alabaster. And alabaster also comes in different colors.
Cool.
So you can get like whites and grays, and there's some, I've seen some that are kind of pinkish, and then there's the black. So they use that more than like harder stones like granite or marble. They take specialized tools and specialized grinders and a lot of mechanical assistance because they're so fucking hard and brittle. So alabaster, when you are doing a hand sculpting or hand sculpting something, is often alabaster is what is used.
I'm just so amazed by sculptors.
I am too. Kind of. So there's also, just to mention, you can also sculpt wood, but it would be carving, and I actually want to do an episode on wood carving, so
That's
not
more
really
like up my alley.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about wood carving in this episode because
it's different.
It's still sculpting, but it's just a different thing. So I feel like we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
And I do, because wouldn't it be cool to interview someone who does chainsaw carvings?
Yes.
Right? They're everywhere here.
And if they make
like
me
you
one.
You can't throw a fucking rock without hitting a chainsaw carver person.
Yeah.
In the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
So we do cool shit here.
Yeah.
We're murdery and we do cool shit.
I want one.
Me too.
I want a Sasquatch for my backyard.
I want a Sam Squanch.
Yeah.
I just call it that because if you watch that fucking show... God damn it. What is it?
Hunting Bigfoot or
No. It's that show. Why can't I think about it? The Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Bubbles is scared of them. He calls them Sam Squanches. It's goddamn dirty Sam Squanches. That's my Bubbles.
Aw.
I'm going through now here looking at my notes. So yeah, I talked about safety equipment and proper tools and dust masks and eye protection and gloves. So you also, tools that you're going to use to carve some stone up. They have what's called a soft hammer, and it has two wide flat faces for hitting your chisel, and it's usually they're about 2 pounds.
Wow.
That's a heavy hammer, guys.
Yeah.
I know you don't think it's a heavy hammer, but that's a fucking heavy hammer. Like, because if you're doing that over and over again and holding it, your arm's going to get fucking really tired.
Yeah.
I bet you sculptors have the sexiest forearms ever.
Yeah.
Look, I love a good forearm.
They're probably Popeyes.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm serious. One of the first things that attracted me to my husband were his forearms. That's a weird thing to be attracted to, but forearms fucking do it for me.
Wow.
And nice calves. But you don't sculpt with your calves, so, you know.
But calves can be sculpted.
Mm-hmm. Can I ever. And then you use chisels, and there are different chisels for just different things. Different chisels. I almost said that.
That's awesome. Different chisels for different chisels.
I'm making words up now.
Chisel my jizzle.
My nizzle. Oh my god, we're just so out of control right now. So, there can be flat chisels. You know what a flat chisel is. Also toothed chisels. So they have like little texture, like ridges on them. So, and then files.
Oh,
because you can have a nice file to like once you've chiseled something to make it smoother. And I would imagine that they would be graduating like from a rougher to more fine.
Yeah.
Just like you would when you sand wood. Like
and
you
all
start
kinds
out
of
rougher.
Sizes.
Yeah.
A lot of tools.
Different sizes for different things. A lot of tools that I imagine like your tool bag would be very heavy if you were a sculptor.
I would have a big stand with
like a
all
big
my
stand
tools
with all
on
your
it.
tools.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's a lot of tools.
Also, if you're depending on the size of the sculpture you're doing, if you're doing a smaller sculpture, they use sandbags to set your your stone in. So it kind of sinks in and it's sturdy, but you can tip it the way you want it and it can sit there.
Does it maybe help absorb the shock too of
probably
hitting,
yes,
because it seems like you'd get that ting ting ting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, I bet you your hands get sore.
Yeah, and
from
vibrating.
just the vibration
Yeah.
and stuff. So, I mean, and really, when you look at it, I think that sculpture is something that has to be learned, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But you look at the stone, and a lot of sculptors that I've read about or you hear interviewed, they just look at the stone, and the stone kind of tells them what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think you probably learn to read a stone, like when you can look at it and tell where it's going to chip or where it's going to break or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
because they have their little veins and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'd also learned that when you're chiseling stone, you don't want to hammer directly into it. You don't you have to do it at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah,
You're chipping away at it, because what happens is if you're not doing it at a 45-degree angle and you hammer your chisel in straight on, it causes what's called a skin bruise.
Oh, I thought
on
it would
your
crack
sculpture,
or something.
and even after you've like sculpted and finished, it will leave a white mark. Like, when you smash two different rocks together and it leaves that white mark on it, that is a skin bruise, and that will stay there forever. It's not going to come
unless
out.
You chisel it off.
Unless you chisel it off. See, I mean, and I have on here, chip shit away, file to finish. That's pretty much it. You chip. But no, what you do is they draw. So basically it starts with a sketch. You draw a sketch on a piece of paper, probably looking at your stone to kind of get a feel for it. And then you transfer. No, I have water. I'm spitting all over the place for some reason. And then you transfer your drawing to the stone. They use crayon because it's wax. It'll stick to the stone well. So probably better than chalk. So when you're chipping away, it's still there. They'll use a crayon to move their drawing, and then you just slowly start chipping away until you get the shape that you need, and then you start filing and to smooth it and get more. And I would imagine the file also assists in finer details. And then you do like wider, larger chisels when you're taking away the first big pieces, and then move down to smaller chisels when you're doing smaller details. Until I would love to watch somebody do a stone sculpture. I think that would be interesting. I wonder how long it
takes. So
I don't know.
Like a lengthy process,
you would think,
but it'd be cool.
Is not an instant gratification.
No
medium.
It's a step back and look at it and go, what am I gonna do now?
We're rubbing our chins in thought right now. We dorks. That is, in a tiny little nutshell, with the smallest bit of knowledge, stone sculpture.
Question: do they now have more modern tools that make stone sculpture easier?
Well, there are files, and I mean there are electronic, like, grinders and
like
stuff.
Like a Dremel type thing or something?
Yeah, but I think that most sculptors
still do.
I still think the bulk of it is hand
Yeah.
done with hand tools. And then I would imagine that like things like Dremels or whatever are probably used for finer finishing work.
Yeah.
But I think that most of them probably still, and it also depends on what you're sculpting. Because I mean, like, I'm just talking about stone right now, but when you're talking 3D sculpture like that, where you're carving away at something, it can be many. I mean, like it can be raw, it can be stone, but it could also be wood. It could be plastics or foams, or like it just depends on what you're sculpting.
Yeah.
And imagine the tools.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So, but they're all going to be like something to cut away the basic shape that you need, and then smaller tools to get the smaller details.
Gosh, it'd be so cool to be able to do that.
I'm kind of envisioning right now in my head like this big sculpture process.
I know. Me too.
And now I'm envisioning that thing where like on the Bugs Bunny cartoons where you hit the wrong thing and then it goes and crumbles into gravel, and that makes me have anxiety thinking about it.
How often do
like
you
what
think
would
that
fucking
happened?
happen?
Yeah.
That would be like a catastrophic failure. That would be horrible because I can't
Luckily,
imagine.
we have these digital cameras now, so we can take pictures as we go.
Yeah, look, no, this thing was really cool. This is what I did.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make it
back then. They're just like
go, and they're like, oh,
I guess those are going in the garden.
Right? I want to pave the driveway with this shit. A medium of a sculpture that I'm far more comfortable with is actually sculpting out of clay.
Yeah.
Or building something. So you're making your 3-dimensional or your 2-dimensional in relief sculpture from clay. That is, and I have done that with, the books, the journal covers that I used to do, where you sculpt and this is how I did it. I can tell you how I did it. I think everybody has their own method. This is just what I did when I was doing the relief sculpture on the books for the journal covers. I would sketch like an outline drawing, just a line drawing of what I was sculpting on the actual journal cover, like the book board in this case is what I was using. And then I would just roll the clay up and put it on there. I kind of filled the shape with the clay, and then I use my clay tools, which I have little silicone rubber tools that are different shapes, and I think we talked about those tools before in our tool episode. Maybe it was a long time ago, or maybe when we talked about I think we did a resin clay episode too a long time ago, and I had talked about this process then also, because that's one of the clays that I use is 2-part epoxy resin. I haven't actually done any sculpting in a long time, but then you use the tools to smooth it out and to get the shape that you want. This is the cool thing about sculpting in this way. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be clay. You don't have to use clay to sculpt.
Use wax.
You can also use wax. And I kind of want to bring the mixed media end of sculpture into the conversation now, because...
Can I ask, does paper mache count?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, very much so. And actually, thinking back...
That's the only kind of sculpting I've really done.
Well, when I was in high school... early high school, maybe even middle school, I really started wanting to I started kind of more identifying as an artist, or wanting to identify as an artist. And I think when you're a kid, you think that involves more complex processes or bigger things than just the drawings and the sketches that you're doing. And so I decided that I wanted to be a sculptor even then, when I was older than just being a little kid. And I was really, actually, I'll tell you where I got the ideas from, was fucking Beetlejuice. When the mom made the big crazy sculptures, she was an artist. Remember that?
Yeah, yes.
So I was kind of trying to do some paper mache stuff along those lines. It did not go well for me at the time because I didn't know what I was doing. But what I did was I ended up using coat hangers for armature under the sculpture. But I wanted them to be like modern and have that modern art twist to them. So I just mangled up these wires and I just made this pile of mangled up wire, and then I took paper mache and just coated everything until it kind of had the look that I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened to me is I grew up on the Oregon coast, and it is always moist there, and I grew up in a house that only had wood heat.
Yep.
So it not only did my paper mache get moldy before it dried completely, because I layered that shit on. And you all know I'm not someone to wait for shit to dry between layers very well.
Yep.
So I just kept layering it on, and it looked pretty cool, but I was never able to paint it or anything because it not only did it mold, but then the wire, the wire that I use underneath, the coat hanger wire, started rusting and bleeding through the sculpture that I did. And I finally just ended up, also it weighed like 500 fucking pounds because it was very heavy. But you can still do that kind of shit though. I mean, like, I would recommend waiting for your shit to dry and doing layers. But that is the cool thing about mixed media art sculptures, is you can use whatever you want. Like, you can even start it out with clay and then bring in objects, found objects, things that you find. I have a friend who...
Ooh, now I'm having visions.
I have a friend who's done sculpture with just found objects. Like, you are taking things that you found and making them into something. Mm-hmm. Like the cool sculptures that you see, like with like bicycle parts. We have a really huge bicycling community here in Portland. So there are a lot of artists that use that like as their medium. They use a lot of bicycle parts and old bicycle bits and pieces, and they do sculptures out of them. Some of them are kitschy little silly sculptures that are like little people and stuff, or like the kinetic sculpture, which I want to talk about too. But also there is fine art sculpture. Like I would call it like tourist kitschy item sculpture to fine art sculpture in bicycle parts, or the project that I have in my queue next, as soon as I finish my Cthulhu painting, and I have a couple swap items, but I am going to start experimenting with fiber art sculpture and felting. So, because
your phone likes that idea.
It was my computer. My computer was telling me a thing. I don't know what it was saying. That was an email alert. Hopefully it's another awesome email and not just a bunch of goddamn junk email I've been getting. Okay. Let's kind of focus in a little bit more about sculpture and building up. So if you're doing clay sculpture, you're going to need, oh my God. And I have a total art crush on Jason Frannie. He's my favorite sculpting artist. He does the breakdowns of like, so he'll cut a toy in half and like section a quarter off, and then he builds up the organs and the skeleton and the stuff inside. I fucking love his artwork, and I've talked about him on the podcast before. He is super dreamy. I will post his website so you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm really unfocused right now, I feel like.
It's the smell of that delicious soup.
I'm actually very hungry, and the food smell is killing me. But what I was going to say, use his example is like, often to keep the weight down of your sculpture. So if you're going to sculpt, like you're making a little sculpture of a dude or a person, if you make it out of solid clay, whether you're using polymer clay or epoxy clay or however you're doing it, it can add a lot of weight. It can be very weighty and it can be very hard to work with. So a lot of artists use armature underneath, which can be wire.
Okay.
Wire wrapped with this tape. There's a special tape that they use over it to make the clay stick to it. Oh, so cool. You can do it that way and build up on the wire. So it's just like a skeleton. It's giving it body. It's also keeping it, if you're using clay, a lot of times it's hard to build things up without it, like, it's wet. It needs to dry. So you don't want it to fall over. Yeah. It needs to have some structure and stability underneath it while you're sculpting and while you're waiting for your clay to dry, so that it doesn't just fall over. Yeah. And Jason Frannie's case, I've watched, he carves florist foam.
Okay, yeah,
So he'll carve that and then put his layer of clay over what he's carved. And then when it dries, he then carves the foam out of it. So it's kind of hollow.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, because he did these sculptures of red blood cells a while back. They were really red blood cells with like scuba gear on. He just does really cool, weird shit. But those he carved all from this foam and then put the epoxy resin clay over the top of it. And then you let it harden and then because he cuts the eyes out of it and made them hollow. And so then you clean the clay out of the foam out of the middle, or not. Some of them, I would imagine the foam stays in the middle because that's just the way it's made. So, when you're sculpting like with clay in particular, then you'll sand like once it's dry on the armature, then you sand to smooth, very much like you would be doing with stone sculpture. You want it to be, or you're going to do whatever you need to do to give it the texture that you want. Like sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I want it to look old and weird and like have some age on it. Like for the journal covers, I do a layer of tissue paper crinkled up and Mod Podge to give it kind of an old, I was replicating leather though. I wanted it to look like old embossed leather. So I would do that and then further that look with paint. You know, so
the foam carving sounds really fun.
It does sound fun. And I know that you can use Dremel tools for that and stuff. And again, anytime you're doing anything like that, eye protection is key.
Yeah.
Because you don't look, I've gotten some shit in my eyes. And we all know the horror stories I've told about my brother getting metal in his eyes. That actually happened to him again not too awfully long ago. God. He had to go to an eye specialist. I think what happens with him, I think when you're doing stuff like that, the key is to get not just the glasses that are eye protection. You want the goggles that make a seal between your skin and the goggles, so nothing can get in the sides or come up underneath. Yeah. Or come around. And I think that you should, when you're doing stuff like carving foam or even sanding clay work, you need that so that it doesn't go, because it's when you're working close to your face. Yeah. So it can go up underneath there. Like my brother is losing vision in one of his eyes because he's gotten metal in his eye so many times.
Man, that sucks.
And he has little rust spots in his eye because it rusts really fast. Oh. So be careful, people. Yeah. I'm talking to you, Angela. Hey. Remember she said that totally grossed her out when I was telling her. Did you see that? This is the third time I've done that. Oh. This is why I keep wiping my face. I must be sitting at a weird angle. Every time I take a drink of my soda, I miss my mouth and it like runs down. It's disgusting. I want to brainstorm and talk about some mixed media sculpture.
Oh, cool.
Like, you know what though? Let's talk about really quickly, like what are some of your favorite sculptures that you've seen? Examples of sculpture. You were talking about the one in Paris that you saw.
Yeah. Oh, my cousin was just joking with me about, it was one of Rodin's sculptures that first everyone hated it and thought it was so ugly, but now it's in this famous square in Paris that I can't remember the name of because my brain is...
Because your brain's got the guns today.
Yeah. And there was this big sculpture exhibit in the park then, and they were giant metal sculptures. But anyway, it was really cool. I don't know. I saw so many. That city is covered in sculptures. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Well, if you look around, like Portland, I think we've talked about Portlandia, like she's a statue that she's sculptured, but they're all around you. When we were in, one of the things I was most delighted with when I went to Puerto Vallarta a few years ago with my in-laws was they have this whole really nice mezzanine that they've built where it's miles long. Like they want tourists to be able to walk along the beach. And they have sculptures every 100 feet or however long, but they're different artists that have done different sculptures. And most of them are done in that the coppery patina color, that really pretty blue. But they're some of them are just
so
brass
cool.
or bronze, but there's like there's like a little
Seahorse.
pixie boy riding a seahorse, and this crazy, like, my favorite one is like this crazy little moon looking guy, and there's like little
Yeah.
dudes going. They have like triangle heads. They're climbing the staircase, and he's just
So
magic.
cool.
But all along the whole walkway, there are like mermaids and mermen and dolphins and these amazing, stunning
Wow.
sculptures down this whole, like, we didn't even get to walk the whole way
That's
because
so
it's so
cool.
long. Like, it was just, well, because there's a bar every few feet
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So, you find a cool sculpture, you park, you have a drink in front of it, and you can only make it so far because then you realize, oh shit, I got to get back now.
Yeah.
If you are in Puerto Vallarta, I recommend just checking them out. You can't miss them once you're walking along there. They're like,
I
this
like the
one's
way they
kinda
look
creepy,
against
but
the sky.
Yeah, and with the ocean as a backdrop. They're
Yeah.
just, and a lot of them are like nautical themed or ocean themed. There's some whales and
Mermaids.
mer peoples.
Yes.
And of course, there are religious overtones to some of them because they're a very
Mhm.
Catholic nation.
That is really
But they're
cool.
beautiful. They're
Yeah.
stunning. I love sculpture. But I wanted to pull up our Pinterest board for this episode because on our Pinterest board, we have some really cool examples of not only like stone carved sculpture.
Those
like,
are beautiful.
like there's these crazy ones that this artist does that are it's Jose Manuel Castro Lopez. That is a mouthful.
Wow.
But he sculpts stone, but he makes like these crazy wrinkles in it. It's like a piece of
Yeah.
stone, but there's like, it looks like you've taken like fabric and pinched it up and made like
Yeah.
ripples in it. They're
That's
just really neat. It's
amazing.
just kind of a cool display of how he is like manipulated the stone with
Mhm.
tools. And I do have some examples of clay sculpture, some busts. Busts are a big thing when you're like human or animal busts. That sculpture freaks me out.
That is cool.
It is cool though.
Is that the person that does those wispy fairy? Are the metal sculptures with the like the dandelion?
Yes. Have you seen that one?
Oh gosh.
So
the one that twirls.
This is it.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. There's some, I didn't even think about wire sculpture too, like just
Jeez,
sculpting
it's
wire.
so delicate and beautiful.
It is. And I love, so we talked about, I think in our last episode that aired, well, it'll be the episode before last, I mentioned the kinetic sculpture rings. What were those? What was that episode for? Let me see.
Kinetic sculpture rings. Huh.
Oh, we were talking about feathers.
Oh, okay.
Did I ever show
yeah,
you the
yeah.
video to those?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a ring that does, but kinetic sculpture is like the shit that
Yes.
moves
Yes.
by motion, like usually the wind or human motion,
Yeah.
or that. I want to know how to do that. Like that, I want to learn how to do
Yeah.
because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I fucking love shit like that.
And like so these they twirl in the wind, right? When the
Yeah,
wind
so
hits
that's
them.
kind of a
they-
kinetic.
Yeah.
Kinetic sculpture. But like the little, I think that this has also made its rounds on Facebook too, the sculpture that Lonnie's talking about. It's a fairy with her hair blowing off to the side, and it's all wire, and then there are the little dandelion wishes.
Yeah.
And
the
just
first time I
twirls in
saw
the
it, I was
wind.
like I had to watch the video over and
Like,
over
a
again.
bunch of
I was
times.
like, what? How did somebody do that? There's beautiful stuff on here.
Yeah, the Pinterest board I set up.
I've seen that one with the hand and the butt.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
hot.
it is, and it's amazing that I was amazed when I saw some of those sculptures in Paris. I was like, they're so
when you
realistic.
look at them, and it makes you feel like if you touched it, it would be flesh. It would be
Yes.
soft. It would
Yeah.
be warm.
Amazing.
It is pretty stunning.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an artist that I really enjoy that does sculpture with stone, but like pieces the stone together with
With gold or something.
gold.
like stretches it. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's cool looking.
It's and I think it's probably a different material, like maybe clay or something, and then gold leafed
Yeah.
over the top of it. But I kind of like things that do that. They take natural, like raw things and then bring them into this more, like make them elements into a more refined, smooth, like clearly man manipulated
Yes.
situation. But
that
this
octopus
one
coming out of
reminds
a
me a little
cup.
bit of it. Well, and I have somewhere on my shelf, one of my shelves in here, I have like a little, this person does sculptures that I got at Comic-Con. They put like little baby
Nice.
Cthulhu type things
Aw.
in teacups, crawling out of teacups, and
That's
they're set in
rad.
resin. But I have one in a little jar that like looks like a little specimen jar. Like, and I think that I would like to do an episode specifically about sculpting like figures, like little tiny figures like that. Little like people, like little dolls or action figure kind of thing.
I had one that looked like an alien in a jar.
I love that.
Yeah. I wish I knew where that was.
So I think it's important too to think, like when you think of sculpture and you think of like these big, amazing sculptures that people are doing, thinking about them on the smaller scale, like not being afraid to try that. Like you could sculpt a little thing and put it in a vial or a little jar, and seal it in resin or not. Like even when I made here this last year, not this year, but the year before, we did an ornament swap for a group I was in. Do you remember when I made it was when we did the snow globe episode. I sculpted little trees and put them in little vials and made little snow globes out of them. Like sculpting on that scale is still just as artistic and important as sculpting on a large scale, and sculpting to add elements to something else. Like I often like to sculpt things for assemblage pieces, and like this ties into many episodes that we've already done, like our diorama episode. You can sculpt items to go in your dioramas, or any mixed media art piece. You can use sculpture and meld it together with other art forms or other I can't think of the word I'm looking for, just other methodologies. So I mean, like if you want to try sculpture, we do have some instruction on how to sculpt faces, because then like even they're using
cool.
art dolls, or then you get to sculpture where you like
the little ears.
Yeah, just like you're using doll parts with common household items, or like all of that is considered sculpture. It's not
that
just
little skeleton.
Yeah, the little
cute.
And like this, like fiber art, like I've watched some creepy, cool fiber art sculptures where they have stuff like nylon with stuffing, and then they sew them and pin them.
Yeah.
So it is almost like making puppets, but it's not. You're sculpting. I love fiber art, and I love figuring out any way that I can bring fiber art into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Part of what I'm gonna, and I cannot remember the artist that we talked about. It was Sharon, a long time ago. But she had a friend who did felting, and I didn't realize this is where I got the idea, but now I'm thinking back and it is. You know, she did her art doll sculptures with felt. She felted them, and then she did a coat of wax over the top of them, and it makes it look like this crazy skin. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing.
That sounds so cool.
In a different context. And it's like you can take these little methods, like things that other people do, and use them in your own way. So I'm not copying her work.
Right.
I'm taking an idea from her and putting it into my own work in a completely new way. So, but yeah, there's a lot of stunning sculpture on our Pinterest board for this episode.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff on there.
Yeah, I know. I just get sucked into it.
Yeah.
Like when you think of, and also I want people to consider sculpting on canvas as well. Because like there's a lot that you can do when you're not just doing a painting. When you're building up textures and you're like, last week I talked about Jen Warden. She's doing a lot of plaster and wax work, but she's doing that on canvas. So she's sculpting in relief almost on canvas, but what she's doing is bringing dimension and shape. So sculpture is not always about a thing. It's not always about making a thing or an object. It's about changing the landscape of something, or bringing even, I mean, if you want to really get into the theory of it, it can be even about changing the mood of something or bringing a feeling to something. Like I noticed some of the work that she's been doing lately makes me kind of feel a little bit lonely.
Yeah.
And I feel that like it's that texture and the expanse that she's made in the way that she's kind of sculpted those changes in texture and the feels that she's making on canvas. So it's a little bit deeper, like when you really start thinking about in terms of mixed media art, which is what we kind of focus on when we are focusing on something and managing to focus on something in the podcast. It's about bringing these different methods of sculpture or anything else that we talk about into joining it with other mediums and other methods to create. You're sculpting something new, and you're making a story, a visual story. And sculpture sometimes is what is a way to tell that story. It's what kind of can't really think of what I'm trying to say. There's a whole speech in my head that's really great, but it just isn't coming out right. But I think it's just creating other worlds. This is what I like. You're making other worlds.
Yeah.
You're bringing your viewer into another world. And oftentimes the sculptural element of that is what kind of helps generate this new place of being.
Yeah.
For people.
So cool.
Yeah. So, and this is we have a pretty good size Pinterest board. There are some instructions on how to sculpt stone obviously that's not something that you're just going to go to the fucking goddamn stone supplier.
I was thinking about starting that up tomorrow.
Just go buy a block of alabaster, gives me some tools and do it.
I got this.
Like
I will see you in 3 years.
Yeah, right on. But like even when you're doing like, you're looking at like yard art sculptures, because like this one thing I just saw, it's like fingers or hands coming up out of the ground like they're holding a tree.
So cool. Like, I love that.
I kind of think that it's magic making.
It is magic making. It looks, yeah, it is. That is awesome.
I think we're going to leave it at magic making. Yard. I do want that in my yard.
Or the one, but I don't think this is a sculpture. I'm not sure how they did it, where it looks like it's a woman lying down, but it's a garden as well. Like it's a huge stone female face, but then it's... But
you can use your landscaping to sculpt as well. Like your landscaping becomes
that stuff.
Part, and that's what I'm talking about with mixed media is, okay, yeah, you have this stone base that is this beautiful figure, and then you're adding your landscaping, like your plants, to be like her hair,
like mosses and like, oh, it looks so cool.
It is magic.
Yeah, it is magic.
Art is magic, yo.
It is.
You should make some.
Yeah.
So Lonnie and I are gonna have dinner in just a few minutes. We're gonna finish up here recording. But I believe we have to make plans for it still. But I believe our next episode is going to be something special for our 3rd birthday.
Ooh.
Because the 1st of April is the anniversary of our show.
Wow.
So I kind of lost track of it this year.
Larry said Jello shots, but I think they'd have to be sugar-free for my diet. But
they make sugar-free Jello?
I know, and it's good.
Whatever. I'll make some Jello shots.
It's actually good.
I have some ideas, Lonnie, that I'm going to throw at you.
Okay.
when we're eating dinner. But so yeah, be on the lookout for information upcoming about our birthday. It's gonna be fun. So until then, go make some cool shit, yo.
Do it now.
Make some Jello shots.
Yum.
Have some.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so fucking hungry. I cannot believe how good my dinner smells.
I know. It smells really good. Good morning, Katie. This is your friend. I'm recording on the new Tascam. I'm trying to figure out what the buttons do. But every once in a while, I take a break to poo.